Hello, welcome to Model Kit Stuff. Today we're talking about building an Ice Cold in Alex diorama. Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff, and today I just wanted to share some thoughts on an Ice Cold in Alex diorama for those of you who inclined. There was a lot of conversation about doing an Ice Cold in Alex themed diorama when Airfix brought out its K2 ambulance and Gecko at the same time, or just before, brought their possibly less accurate version out. And neither of those two kits are particularly perfect. Both of them have issues. And of course there is the long-standing Accurate Armour version, which we will show you a little bit of during the course of the video. Now the Airfix one, I think, of the plastic ones is probably the more accurate around the grill area. And generally is a little bit cheaper if you shop around, depending on how you buy it and where you are in the world, I guess. The Accurate Armour one is going to set you back about £100 plus shipping, but it does have little features like sliding grills, and to be quite honest with you, the side profiles are more accurate. They've got the little, they've got the frame in and the little undulations between the frame, so it is a much more accurate looking model, in fairness. Now I have the Airfix one as well, as you can see, the Accurate Armour one, but that's because I want to do two different versions. So with that in mind, I want to share my thoughts on building a diorama inspired by the film Ice Cold in Alex. And I use the word inspired really carefully, because when the kits came out, there was a lot of conversation about building an Ice Cold in Alex diorama, and there was a lot of people that know better who were telling us that the kit needed to be converted to a 4x4 version instead of the 4x2 version to be accurate to the film. Well, I think that's your starting point. When you decide that you're going to build a diorama inspired by the film, what are you actually doing? Are you building a diorama of the film, as in the cast, and accurately depicting the vehicle that was used in the film, or are you going to build a diorama that is inspired by the film and its story, which after all is what the film is. It's a movie adaptation of a story. So I think if you're going to go with copying the film, crew, cast and vehicle, then you've got to convert the vehicle. If you're going to do what the movie was trying to do and tell a story, then you don't need to convert your vehicle, clearly, because the filmmakers intended that vehicle to be a 4x2, but for the purposes of making the movie, we're doing a 4x4. So for most sane people, most of the time, the 4x2 kits that are available do the job without having to convert them. It's a bit of a nonsense, really. That's my view, and there you have it. So there is a number of different places in the film where you can take inspiration for a diorama. This is my start of a diorama that I started a few years back now. It's actually got a little bit damaged with moving house, and I need to go back and sort it out, and it certainly wasn't finished by any stretch of the imagination. But this diorama that I started building was inspired by the scene at the waterhole when they turn up in the ambulance. They're in desperate need of petrol because they've decided that they're going to change the route back because of the German advance, and they get there just in time to be able to say, can we have some petrol before you pour sand in it, which, you know, or they refer to it as sugaring the fuel. So that's my inspiration. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute. There are other classic moments in the film that you could replicate, like Anthony Quayle being pulled out of sinking sand, for example. That could make a really nice diorama with a little bit of ropes and what have you. So yeah, I think that could be really nice. Then there's the iconic cranking the ambulance up the sandy hill, maybe with them pushing at the back, or maybe with them running, chasing it down the hill as it rolls back down. And then you've got a couple of instances where they run into Germans, and that means that you can expand your diorama to include another vehicle and some more figures. So there is several ways to go. There's also a start and an end to the film, so you could be showing the worn-out ambulance getting into Tobruk, pulling up outside the bar, or with the military police in tow maybe, or you could do it at the start of the film when they're at the convoy and the general gets blown up. So there's a number of places where you can visit a really nice diorama. Now for me, my intention is to build something inspired by the film. So that also means that I can use a little bit of artistic license, like they did in the film with the vehicle by changing its running gear. So in a movie, they do what they need to do to get the film, the story told. Whereas with a diorama, we can pretty much take any elements that we want and put it together. Now, most of the conversation around an ice cold in Alex Diorama has been around the figures. So let's have a look at the figures that I selected for doing this diorama. So you have to think about who's involved and what they're doing. And the most challenging figure is actually the female figure, because if you look for a resin nurse, they're in nurse's uniform, and actually she isn't really overtly dressed as a nurse. So you've got two options. You could take a female head and put it on a male body, or you could go with this. So this is the figure I'm going to use. Now, this was actually a figure that came out of a set of figures, as I recall, a set of figures depicting some generals and staff and that sort of stuff, and it lends itself really, really well. So you need to just have a look around, but this is a plastic figure, not a resin figure, that came out of a set of officers and staff. So have a look around. What you're looking for is really a female in trousers. That's Second World War era, and you may be that you can use the torso and then swap out some trousers, but this is working for me. So this is going to be my nurse. The Anthony Quayle character famously spent almost all of his time with no top on, and so you need a figure that is topless. Now this guy's got a beret on, so he's not dead accurate, but he looks pretty much like the guy. He's in African gear, and he's got his hands in a position actually for loading with a shell, but that can easily be converted to a jerry can. And there is a scene where they're tossing jerry cans, and I thought, he's throwing them into the back of the ambulance. So I thought that was quite a nice little pose there that we can get. And again, this is a plastic figure that's come out of a set of figures. Now, I think people are automatically drawn to resin figures when they're trying to find something bespoke, but having a look around in some of the sets, often a whole set of figures is as cheap, if not cheaper, than buying a single resin figure. So this has come out of a set of North African tankers, I seem to recall. So that's my Anthony Quayle figure. Now, when it comes to the tall guy who's sort of like the mechanic, I forget the actor's name. We're looking for someone who is fairly serious and fairly tall and looks like the driver of the vehicle, and is fairly rugged looking. So I've gone with this character here. Again, this is actually a resin figure this time. So a North African British soldier. He's not perfectly matched, but he's got the revolver on and bits and pieces. So he is fairly senior figure, and that suits what I want. And I seem to remember, think it came from a company called We Friends, Friendship Models. Friendshipmodels.com. We'll find that. There you go, Friendship Models, and they've got lots of little resin figures there, and it may be actually that North African tanker came from there as well. But that's my driver figure. Then when it's gone to our slightly inebriated captain, I decided I wanted something a bit more SAS looking and a bit more rugged, so I actually went with an SAS figure. Now, obviously, he doesn't really look anything like our friendly captain, really. He's got a beard and he's wearing that, but I quite liked that sort of explorer type look for my driver. So that's the figure I'm going with. Again, he's a resin figure from We Friends. Very nice looking. You can see I've started putting some base colours down, but not much else. So that's him. And then obviously there's a conversation being had with a British officer incognito as an Arab. So we need an Arab. And this is our Arab, and I think he actually looks suitably European for an Arab, I think, and he's wearing very similar to what he wears in the movie. So I think that was in this set. So this is Evolution Miniatures, and you've got an SAS officer and local man, and he comes with both of the figures together, and that includes everything that you need. Yeah. So a really nice set of figures. Like I say, these two come together, and for me, that does what I need. Now, obviously, earlier in the film, you might need a second female nurse, and there's other figures that you might need to have a look at during the course of it. But if you shop around, there are figures out there. Obviously, I think a lot of people would prefer something that looks a little bit more, but there's lots and lots of North African figures around out there, so just have a shop around. I've had these for quite some time, but I know that these are still available, and that Friendship Models is still out there, so there is plenty of opportunity to get the figures. For those of you who perhaps weren't aware of the Accurate Armour kit, there's been a lot of reviews of the Gecko and the Airfix kit, including mine, so I thought it was probably worth having a look at the Accurate Armour one and just sharing that. Now, I have checked the website, and at the time of recording this, which is the back end of January 2023, this is on stock on their website and available to purchase. Like I say, it's just under £100 plus your shipping, and what you get is a resin kit that builds up to look like this. It comes with decals and a fair amount of photo etch, including photo etch grills, bonnet panels, and various bits and pieces, straps, chains for little details like on the stretchers and that sort of thing. So lots of nice detail, the flaps and stuff like that, and the photo etch grill is something that's really handy to have, and it does come with a full resin engine. So unlike the Airfix kit, so if you want to show them with the bonnet up because it's been overheating, you've got the option to see the full engine there, which is a nice touch. And you can see I've started building this, and like I say, it's been a few years since the build's been paused, but you can see it has quite a nice, accurate interior. So yeah, I think that's looking quite nice, but we've got some work to do on it. But yeah, all good. And then when it comes to interior, we have a fully detailed interior. It has more detail than the Airfix kit. I've not looked at the Gecko kit, and unlike the Airfix kit, we have the correct tyres as well. So that's helpful as well. You can see the spare. You get a part tyre. So where you've got the bulkhead, although you've got the bulge there, it's solid. So one of the sort of things that you get with a resin kit. So that will go up against there. It'll look brilliant in place. It's really nicely cast. Lots of little details. So we get a full set of stretchers, which have a nice sort of material feel to them with the blanket on, and nice shaped handles, and then separate little metal feet for it. So nice and accurate looking. We do get some jerry cans and British Army style fuel cans, and fire extinguishers. We've got here the bonnet. You can see that's nicely depicted there. You will have to sand that off and drill a couple of holes in if you're doing the ice cold in Alex representation, because that's missing in the film. The seats are nicely moulded with, you can see the back there, we've got all the little folds in for the material, which and little latches on the boxes, and they absolutely look the part. Some of the parts, because the resin might be a little warped, that I think should be straight. That's a stretcher rail. So there might be a little bit of work to do, that always is with resin kits. You can see here, this is one of our frames. But you can see the rivet detail is really nice. So just a little bit of clean up to do. Now I want to show you this. This is the other side piece that's not been built up. So the interior detail's nice. You've got the ratchets there for lowering and raising the beds, and you've got the little cushion there that again is missing on the Airfix one, I seem to recall. And you've got the opening there so that you can have actual opened ventilation. But if you look in the light, you can see the texturing there. You've got the little raised lumps, the frame in line with the opening there, and they just gently sink in and then come back out on the other side, which is exactly how it originally was, because it's a material skinned timber frame on the back. So that's really nice. We've got really nice depicted grille, radiator I should say, all nicely done. The steering wheel has got nice detail to it, and the fold away doors on the side doors are much more nicely moulded than the Airfix ones, which do look a little bit dodgy in my mind and have quite a nice texture to them. So all in all, I think the Accurate Armour kit is the better kit of the three, but it's not in everyone's price range, so you do have to consider that. It is an expensive kit because it is resin, but it will build up to look really quite nice when it's done. That goes on there like that, so be a nice little display piece when done. So this is going to be my Ice Cold in Alex ambulance, and the one that I've bought from Airfix will probably end up being done as the Queen's one or something like that. So yeah, there you have it. This is the Accurate Armour K2 ambulance. My thoughts on an Ice Cold in Alex diorama: you build what you want, you tell the story as you want to tell the story. So I'm going to do the watering hole diorama. I think that's quite a nice section in the film to explore, and at some point I will get back to this. Don't know when, certainly not in my immediate pipeline, but yeah. Quite inspiring. The film, when you've got a model that relates to a film, it gives you lots of options. So yeah, all good. Right, thank you for looking in. I'm fairly positive that most people could have worked all this stuff out for themselves. The most important thing is trying to find some figures that match how you want the characters to be seen. And I think that the most important thing there is not to get too tied to accuracy and allow a little bit of artistic license so that you can express the story. Okay, thanks for looking in, take care, and I will see you soon.